Hi everyone, I am back with our Bible story. So yesterday I left you with a cliffhanger, so today we've got to hear the rest of the story. If you saw yesterday's video, you probably heard me say I'm going to be using our beginner's Bible that we use at school, but just really for some of the pictures. I like to tell this story in my own words. So here we go. This is a letter D Bible story. It is about a guy named David. And we've learned a couple other things about David in the last few weeks. We learned that David was chosen to be the next king of God's people because he had a good heart. It wasn't so much because he was big and strong or really, really smart, but God could see inside him just like an x-ray can see inside you. And God knew that David had a good heart. And that's why he was chosen to be the next king. Another thing that we learned about David was that he wrote a lot of songs. And you can read those in the Bible. They're in the book of Psalms. And we read a couple of those, it was maybe like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. We read a couple of the Psalms that David wrote. Well, this is probably the most famous Bible story about David, and it is called David and Goliath. So yesterday I started the story. If you didn't get to see yesterday's video, I'll just give you like a recap. David lived a long time ago, and he had 7 brothers, and he was the youngest and the smallest, but he had an important job. He had a job to take care of his father's sheep. So he would take them out in the field and find them grass and find them water. And one of the most important things he did was if a wild animal would come to attack the sheep, like a bear or a lion, David would take a rock and put it in like a sling or a slingshot, I guess you could say, and he would go woo, 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 zing! And he would throw the rock and scare away the wild animals. So part of his job as a shepherd was to keep the sheep safe. Well, David loved those sheep, and David loved his family, but most of all, David loved God. Well, there was somebody else who did not love God. He was a mean, growly man, and his name was Goliath. Ooh, he was mean and growly, and he was really, really big. If he was with you right now, his head might even touch the ceiling of the room you're in. For sure, he would have to duck to get inside the doorway. He was a mean, growly guy, and he did not love God, and he did not love God's people, because Goliath's people and God's people were fighting each other. And every day, Goliath would march back and forth, and he would say, "Send someone to fight me." But all of God's people were afraid, and they would not go to fight him. They were like, no. Well, one day, David came to the battlefield, and he saw and heard the things that Goliath was saying. And it made him mad because he loved God, and he did not like to hear Goliath saying those bad things about God and God's people. So when Goliath said, "Send someone to fight me," David said, "I will fight you." And Goliath said, he thought that was so funny that this little guy would want to fight him. So David went down to the river, and he got 5 stones. And he came back, and he ran up to Goliath. When Goliath said, "Send someone to fight me," David said, "You think you're so big and strong with your big shiny sword and your big shiny shield? You think you can win the battle, but God is on my side, and he is bigger than you or than any sword or shield, and God will help me win the battle." And do you know what Goliath said again? He went, "Rah, ha, 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 ha." Oh, he thought that was so funny. So David took one of those stones. Do you remember how I said when he was taking care of his sheep, if a wild animal would come, he would put a stone in his sling and he would throw it at him? Well, that's just what he did. He put one of those stones in his sling and he went woo, 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 and he threw that stone at Goliath. And that stone went bonk. And it hit Goliath right in the head. And Goliath went and fell down. And David won the battle. Yay, David, and yay, God. David was able to do it because he remembered that God was bigger than any scary thing. So, you know what? That's a good reminder to us. If there are big things in our life that are scaring us and we're scared about, we can always talk to God and He will help us to not be so scared anymore. So that is our Bible story of David and Goliath. And I will be back in a little bit with something fun you can do today. Bye, guys.